God bless you. Thank you for joining me again for a discussion on Let's Talk. This is part three, or our third conversation. I have been talking about, I have said again just briefly that the beginning of this year in January, I was privileged to speak at a leadership conference. And my job was to actually, my assignment was to speak to a group of women. One of the things that, again, that God led me to do towards the end of this conference is to have the ladies to jot down some things that were on their hearts that they wanted to God to help them in their struggle, or these were certain areas that were hindrances to them in their roles in the ministry and church, things that they were dealing with. Again, I say should always be a purpose to the things that you do. And so one of the things that I have been doing is praying over these things that were written down, and we did a prophetic enactment of them, bringing them to the altar, laying them on the altar. But I believe too that it is important because these are real things, real issues that go on inside of the body of Christ, not just women. Again, that's the audience that was targeted on that particular day. But I think that it's important because all of us as leaders deal with different things that are going on inside the ministry, inside the kingdom of God, inside church itself, and not just leadership. People in general have these situations and these problems that they deal with on a daily basis. So here we are on part three of Let's Talk, and we are taking some of these things that were actually real situations, real issues, real things that people were dealing with, and we are talking about them. We have talked about jealousy. So far, we have talked about being obedient to God as well, and dealing with our negative thoughts. On tonight, again, this is just everything that was written. I didn't throw it away. Again, just praying over them. But I want to tonight, and let me get my eyes on, for part three of this, I want to I'll take this one. It says, my marriage problems hurt. From my mother-in-law, disappointments, people talking about me, the attitude towards people who in leadership that use my past against me, and also hurt from my husband. Now this, again, these are individuals, these are real situations dealing with ministry, dealing with leadership positions, dealing with church itself. And so here we have a very sensitive situation. It's talking about marriage problems, hurts in the marriage. Now here you have inside the body of Christ, I know a lot of times this is again a very sensitive issue. You have a person who is having to deal with hurts from a marriage. What do you do? You're in leadership position, perhaps you're that woman in ministry who is dealing with hurt in your marriage, and here you are ministering to other people, you are encouraging other people, you are taking on the burdens of other people, you are helping other people, you are talking to other people about their hurts and their pains and getting through their situations, and here you are, you yourself are dealing with hurt in your own marriage. Man, that's real. Wherever you have people, wherever you have different people, different personalities, you're going to have problems. And I think that marriage is very important. Being married over 30 some years myself, I think that is important because we all go through changes and we all go through situations. I'm sure in every marriage there is hurt. Why is there hurt? Because people are people. People offend. People have problems. People are dealing with their own self. So when it comes to, and this is my own personal, we are talking, we are discussing, we are having conversation. I am in no means telling you specifically what to do when it comes to your specific marriage. You need to continue in all of this to consult God. But I believe that this is very hurtful when you're in situations and you have your spouse, ladies, that is being very hurtful to you when you're dealing with these problems. The first of all that I would say is, like anyone else who's coming to you to get advice, who is coming to you and you are ministering to that person, you're in leadership position, ladies, and the first thing that you need to do is you need to deal with the hurt. You need to have a conversation with your spouse. Because one thing with us as women, if you don't communicate, if you don't say what is on your heart, if you don't say what has offended you, if you don't say what the problem is, we just begin to hold it. We carry it. And we let it lay there. And so what happens is, eventually, if we don't deal with it, it's going to come out, and it's going to come out in a manner where we're going to explode, where we're actually going to it's going to come to the surface with something else that it has nothing to do with. Example could be, I don't know, something so simple as your husband didn't take out the trash, ladies, or something, and it's running over, and you ask him to take out the trash, and then it gets into this big blow up. But the thing about it, it may not be specifically because he didn't take out the trash. You're really angry about the hurt. You're really angry about something else. You're really angry about another situation that happened, and you have not talked about it. You have actually just let it lay there. You have been trying to deal with it. You're hurt about it. You didn't like what happened in the situation with your husband, with your spouse. Listen, if you don't deal with it, you're going to explode, and it's going to come out perhaps in a manner where you don't want it to, and then you're going to create more problems. If you just deal with the issue, deal with it. I have learned in my years of marriage that it is best to communicate. I remember early on just holding things in and not really wanting to communicate in the situation and just trying to deal with it. That does not work. I'm telling you, if you are in a relationship, listen, you are two individuals coming together to become one. Well, that's hard because you are two distinct individuals, but you got to come together so that you can deal with the hurt. I'm telling you, if you consult the problem, if you consult that other individual, your spouse, I'm telling you, even if you don't come to an agreement, it's okay to disagree, but to be able to communicate and be able to say how you are feeling, it helps so much better. Another point here is disappointment from in-laws. Man, one thing that we've got to understand is everybody in their situation does not have in-laws that they can get along with. If you have in-laws that you are getting along with, that is wonderful. You should be happy about that. Because everybody in their marriage situations, when they have in-laws, when they're dealing with other people, don't always get along. But you have got to remember this, that you are not married to them. You're married to your spouse. And yes, things are going to come. Those people may not always agree with what you do. Your in-laws may not be happy with you. They might not always agree with the way that you guys do things, but you are not married to them. And so that is why it goes back to, when you are dealing with these hurts, when you are dealing in your relationship, in your marriage relationship, you have got to communicate with one another. You guys are the two that become one. You're supposed to leave your mother and your father, and you're supposed to cling to your spouse. I know sometimes that's maybe hurtful for some people, and they can't get over that. But you're not living with that individual. Again, you have got to communicate. Well, you say communicate, but what if it makes it worse? Well, listen, you are not holding that offense, because if you're hurt, there's some offense going on. You're offended. That's why you're hurt. You got to deal with the hurt. Not only conversating with the other individual, but you got to ask God to help you deal with that hurt, because really it's only him that can actually heal you to the full. This other point on this paper is another hindrance that says people talking about you. Getting over people talking about you. Listen, people are going to talk about you. That is a fact. That is the truth. You are going to have someone who talks about you. Someone also in this about people using your past against you, and this is in leadership. Okay, I mean, like, seriously, this is in these particular positions. So we're talking about people talking about you, people bringing up your past against you. People will always talk about you, whether you're doing good, whether you're doing bad. It doesn't matter. People will talk about you. So that is something that you are really going to have to bring before the Lord. You are really going to have to deal with yourself in this struggle, because the thing about this is you got to be okay with you. The thing about it is you've got to know where you are. You've got to understand where you are. You've got to know how God sees you, and how do you view yourself. People are going to talk about you. People are going to say things about you. But when it all boils down, how do you feel about you? And another thing is, in this particular situation, since you are not actually living in a house with this individual, you two have not become one. When these people are talking about you, hey, you got to learn how to let things go. Brush that thing off your shoulder and keep it moving. When you get to the point of people being able to talk about you to the point where it hinders you and you cannot continue to function every day, you cannot continue to move on in your life, that is a serious problem. You cannot let people affect you to the point where you cannot effectively function in your life. So definitely continue to bring this before the Lord. And again, this is also another thing on here is, again, that hurt from your husband. Ladies, what do you do again when you're hurt by your spouse? Well, does your spouse know that you're hurt? Have you ever brought it to your spouse? Have you ever said, honey, when you did this, I didn't like it. When you responded to me that way, it hurt my feelings. When you said this to me, it didn't set straight with me. One thing that we have to be very careful about too, especially husband and wife in ministry, you got to be careful, because you are so apt to actually give the other person outside of ministry your full attention. Give the other person in ministry your divine attention, and to actually give them your kindness, give them your best foot. You're putting your best foot out there. You're putting your best effort out there. How come it's so difficult sometimes to do that with your own mate? Gotta be careful. What you give to other people, when you're on your jobs, when you're in ministry, when you're dealing with people and you're counseling them, and you have that patience for them, when you have that love for them, when you have that kind word for them in spite of their response to you, how come it's so difficult to respond the same way with the person that you live with every day? Be careful about that. That will create a stumbling block in your relationship. And again, we can see that it does. Again, this is person in leadership, whereas they're actually being hurt by their spouse and they're having marriage problems. I don't care if you're in leadership position. I don't care how long you've been in position in ministry. Everyone has issues. Again, I say everyone has problems. Marriage is a work. Marriage is a commitment. Marriage is a discipline. Marriage takes God. If your marriage is not built on a foundation where God is actually the head of your marriage, I'm telling you, you will find yourself dealing with those situations and your problems so much harder. I mean, we are not exempt because we have God in our marriage, but God is the one who actually helps us to be able to do exactly what we need to do. So again, talk about it, deal with it, bring it to the person. Just don't go around carrying these heavy loads. Yes, bring it before God. Yes, submit it in prayer, but talk to the one who hurt you. Talk to the one that you have an issue with. And again, remember, it's very important in how you bring this hurt and how you actually communicate it. The way that you communicate is very important. Treat your spouse the way that you would want to be treated. Treat your spouse like God sees him or her. Treat them that way, because each one of us in our own selves, we're dealing with our own selves. So again, I say, instead of always talking about it, no, instead of always need to talk about it, the elephants that are in the room, talk about it. Talking helps. I'm telling you, it helps you to be able to deal with where you are. Well, God bless you. May God keep you. This is my prayer. Until next time, be blessed.